Hi guys, it's Crystal. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have partnered with Cricut to bring you a beginner-friendly project using your Cricut. So let's go ahead and get started. For today's project, I'm going to show you guys how to layer adhesive vinyl using parchment paper. So I've got a couple tumblers here. These are from Amazon. They're really nice. And then I've got my Cricut Joy. I've got a mat. I have already pre-cut all of my adhesive vinyl. I'm using Cricut's Premium Permanent as well as some of their Pearl Metallic. So the yellow and the red, those are metallic, super fun. So I've got those. I've got a couple pieces of parchment paper, my weeding tool, as well as my scraper tool, and I've got a paper trimmer. This is what I use to trim down my vinyl. Now I'm using the Design Space app with my iPad for my Cricut Joy today. I've already got everything designed out. Now, before I brought it over to the iPad, I had actually already designed out the Tigger and the Pooh using that new offset on my computer. For the Tigger and Pooh, you can find these in images. You can simply just type out Pooh or Tigger and it's going to bring up tons of super cute characters. Now, these are $1.99 each, but once you purchase them, they belong to you. Now, I'm showing you can also type in Disney to bring up all sorts of Disney characters. So there really is a lot to offer. This list really goes on. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel back up here. We are ready to go. I've already sized these and I'm just going to go ahead and send them over to the mats. So here you can see everything organized out into the mats. I'm going to be using a mat today. Now for this one right here, this one is actually using Cricut Smart Vinyl, so it doesn't need a mat. So it's really cool. So this is just going to load by itself. With that, you're allowed to do 5 inches instead of the mat where it's 4 inches. I believe you can do 5.5 with this one. So it gives you a little bit more room to work with. To change the mats, you can simply click on those and change them individually if you would like to. So if your material is back and forth, you can change one to be on a mat and then one to be using the Smart Vinyl. So you can definitely do that here or mirror it. So now bringing you back down, you guys can see the difference there where this one is not on the mat. So you can see I'm quickly scrolling through here. Everything's good to go. I don't need to mirror anything because I am cutting out adhesive vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go. From here, I'm going to go ahead and choose that we are using Premium Permanent Vinyl and we're ready to go. So like I said, I've already trimmed everything down with my paper trimmer. If you guys don't have one, you should definitely check it out. It makes cutting down vinyl so much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to load our first one. And for the first one, we're actually going to be using the Cricut mat. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Joy ready to go and then get our mat here, pull off our plastic and load our first color. So I'm just going to go ahead and load this and send it in the machine. And the machine will automatically grab that and pull it in. And then from there, you're going to go ahead and take your phone or your tablet and choose go. So right there at the bottom right, it's going to go ahead and let you hit go from there. And then it's ready to go. So it's just going to go ahead and start cutting. After it's done cutting, you're going to hit unload from your tablet or phone, and then you're going to go ahead and pull it right off and remove it. Now, the best way to do that is flip your mat upside down and peel it off. We're going to load our next color and place it into the machine. Now, I'm going to show you here, you can go ahead and check mark this to remember your settings so it doesn't keep asking you over and over, what materials you're using. So while I am continuing to load different colors, at that time, I'm going to go ahead and start my weeding process. That way I'm not wasting any time. So I like to utilize all this time that I can. So while one's cutting, I'm weeding the other. And as you guys can see here, it really does weed like a dream. It's no issues at all. And I'm just using my little weeding tool here from Cricut and getting all of these tiny little pieces as you can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to do this with all the remaining colors. Now that the Cricut is done, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my canvas so I can see my design, my character, so I can visually see how the layers are going to go on top of each other so I can make sure I do this in the correct order. So now what I'm doing is I'm just organizing everything and I'm going to go from the bottom all the way up. We're going to take some transfer tape here. I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece that's going to cover the entire design. So there we have it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this from the backing. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply it to our first layer. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down onto the yellow part of the body. And I'm going to take my scraper tool and really get this adhered to the transfer sheet. I'll flip it over and rub the back as well. And then you're just going to go ahead and pull it at an angle and it'll come right up. Now we are ready to apply our first layer. We're going to take our parchment paper, and I've cut this down to size. You just want to kind of get this over your character. You want to have enough room to where you're going to have a little bit of the sticky from the transfer sheet to hold onto the bottom layer, so that way it'll hold itself down. And then you're just going to line everything up, and once it's lined up, everything looks good, you're going to remove the parchment paper because the vinyl will not stick to the parchment paper. Now, before you do this project, definitely test a small piece just to make sure that it's not going to stick to your parchment paper. And then you're just going to go ahead and take your scraper tool and layer that down. So you're just going to go ahead and rub it right down, and then now we're going to go ahead and remove our transfer sheet. Now I'm going to use this transfer sheet over and over again, so I'm being careful not to tear it up. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick up our t-shirt, and I'm getting it down a little bit so I have room at the top of my transfer sheet. And we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put my parchment paper, leaving a little bit of room at the top so I can get my transfer sheet to hold down on that next layer. Remove that parchment paper once I have everything lined up. Take my scraper tool and rub it down. So we're going to go ahead and remove that transfer sheet again, saving it to use it over and over again. Now with this, we've got to do the foot and the nose. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get over a little bit on a corner of my transfer sheet here, just a little small area, enough so I can grab this. I don't need to put the whole sheet on every single time. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to cover it with that parchment paper just so I can see where I'm at. So as you guys can see, I'm going to go ahead and get some of that transfer sheet to hold down at the top there. Now everything's lined up. I'm going to go ahead and lay down that little piece. Now, once again, I didn't have to lay that whole piece on top. I'll show you that now with the nose. So I'm going to go ahead and go back on again, a little tiny corner there, and then take that parchment paper once again, get right up there at the top, and line up my nose. And I may have to kind of turn this a little bit. I'm going to stick my sticky down there, and I'm going to move that parchment paper. And there you have it. Now notice I'm not laying that whole piece down. I'm just going to get the nose. Now for me, this was my last layer, so I could have went right on top. I'm going to fold it like a taco and layer it down. So now this is good to go. This is ready for us to transfer it on our tumbler. Now let's go ahead and do the poo. This is just 2 layers. We're going to grab our top layer here, and this time I'm going to kind of go on the side of it because that's technically the top of our poo. So the very top of the poo, if you will. And I'm going to go ahead and get this at an angle and peel right up. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that parchment paper once again, and see I'm leaving just a little bit at the top so my stick will hold on to that. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that down so that way the bottom layer is not going to shift whenever I go to remove that parchment paper. And then I'm going to take my scraper tool and rub that down. And now you're going to have that perfectly lined up. So everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the next layer. So you need to see that I'm kind of zooming in there for my Tigger so I can see how those are layered. So we're going to go ahead and repeat this same process. Now I wanted to go ahead and show you this layer here. We don't need it. The black's coming through the same way as that brown layer would have, so I went ahead and just got rid of it. You could definitely get rid of it right there in Cricut Design Space. So you could hit the little eye to hide it, or you could just delete that layer. So now I've got that one ready to go. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the Tigger. We're just going to go ahead and repeat that process one last time. All right, so now we're ready to put our tumblers together. I'm actually going to take 2 of my scraper tools to hold my tumbler still, and then I'm going to go ahead and line this up. I like to get my center laid down first and then lay down my sides, flip it over. These are just like a sticker basically. As you can see here, you can definitely use the parchment paper again to line that up so that way before you commit, but you definitely do not. So I'll show you guys that here with the other one. So we're going to lay down the Tigger once again, laying down the center first and then laying down the sides, flip it over and get down our Tigger. Now for this one, like I said, I'm not going to use the parchment paper. I'm just going to kind of hover above until I feel comfortable, rub down the center and get down the sides. Rub it in and peel it off. Now, instead of putting the poo and Tigger, you could definitely personalize these with somebody's name as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.